have all moved up, and the ones I like from this space are Indian Bank and State Bank. So I'll run with Indian Bank at this moment. 406, 407 is the current price. Would be a buyer in Indian Bank with a stop below 400. A day's target somewhere around 412 to 415 can be looked for, but I think substantially higher targets may also be possible here if the market were to finish well. The second stock as a buy is Infi, which is leading from the front in the IT pack. I think a very sharp and positive price action seen today. Stock has climbed up about 4% to about 990, but I think it's good for another 20 odd rupees more at the bare minimum. So with a target set at about 1010, I'm recommending a buy at 990 in Infi, a 10 rupees stop loss in this thing.
Okay, Manas, hi, good afternoon. What stocks would you recommend right now for trade?
Good afternoon. My first call is a buy call on Manappuram. Even in the afternoon show, I mentioned about Manappuram because the stock has broken its 100 day moving average today. And after a small correction today, it has taken support near to 200 day moving average. The possibility is high that we may see some more up move in Manappuram. Target would be around 107, stop loss is 98. Second is a buy call on SRF, where we have seen a sharp up move. I think last week we saw a rally from the level of 1600 to 1750, and we saw some consolidation, and now we have witnessed a lot of buying interest at lower levels. I think stock has potential to break the resistance of 1750, and the possibility is high that this time if it breaks that, then it can test 1810. So take a long call here and keep the stop loss below 1720.
Right, those are strategies coming in from Dr. C.K. Narayan as well as Manas this afternoon. In a bit, of course, we'll be touching base with our fundamental guest too to get in his perspective. I believe Ashish Chaturmota is also with us. Can we? Okay, we'll first go to Girish Pai and touch base with him and get a quick perspective on the markets. Girish, it's a day of rebound for the index, but how do you think we will close the last lap for the year? You think in a dash towards 11,000 or closer on the heels of 10,000?
So I think a couple of things seem to be kind of falling in place. One is the earnings side, which has been disappointing the markets for many quarters in succession. We go into the earnings season expecting a positive kind of number to come through from the growth side, and every single earnings season for many quarters now has been disappointing. Probably for the first time, I think the September 2017 earnings season has kind of delivered a positive, I won't say a surprise, but definitely a positive outcome. So except for say certain pockets like corporate banks, PSU and private, and maybe to an extent oil marketing companies, I think broadly the rest of the market has kind of delivered, I would think, an earnings surprise, or been in line with expectations. So this has been driven by a better volume growth, a better revenue mix, and more importantly, better EBITDA margins in a lot of sectors. EBITDA margins because the revenue mix has been better, there's been premiumization, they have benefited from input tax credit and stuff like that. So I think earnings have kind of fallen into place, one thing, that's positive. But on the other side, you have a situation where crude has gone up, inflation has gone up, 10-year yields have kind of gone up by about 80-85 basis points higher than the low we saw of 6.2 in December of 2016. So that's a worry. I think the key driver from here on could potentially not be so much earnings or even the 10-year yield. I think will be politics. I think we need to watch out for what's going to happen in the Gujarat elections, because that's going to be very critical to what happens to fiscal deficit in FY19. If BJP gets lesser seats than what it got in the last elections, my sense is that going forward the budgets could be more fiscally imprudent, and in a way to put it. So I would think that there could be more social spending coming our way in the.
Okay, I'll tell you what, I want to mark PSU banks. I want to mark the risk factor in the market, which is the metal index, the way it is making a comeback. We've seen a 300-point decline, 3 days on the trot, markets had fallen. There is no new news in the system, or there is no new bad news in the system, yet we have hit a air pocket. And this really could be a period of dull patch where markets are trying to find the right level, excess activity is getting flushed out in the system. Sometimes when we see this kind of an activity, the market leadership almost changes. But PSU banks is where I think the price action is telling you that better days are coming. Suddenly PSU banks are falling less. They are gaining more. This is the kind of pattern we saw in NBFCs couple of years ago. I remember there was a patch in 2015-16 when the world was not all that gung-ho about the potential NBFCs had. But then NBFC stocks, they started making patterns which started exhibiting leadership. So when a stock tries to regain a leadership position, those sectors or those group of stocks will fall less and they will gain more. Look at SBI. It is making a new high on a daily basis. Bank of Baroda is doing all the right things. So the point I'm trying to make here is that PSU banks, which up until now has been the ugly duckling, one of the pet theme for short sellers to go and short, I think that is changing. Also, who were the short sellers in the market? The short sellers in the market were largely HNI crowd and then largely FIs who were coming by the P-note route. The FI cannot come by the P-note route. Short selling by P-note route has been banned. It's not going to happen. So one element of short selling which was suppressing it down, that element of short selling is out actually for the banks.
Yeah. And that also seems to be aiding the move on PSU banks. In fact, let's take a very quick break on that note, shall we? Okay, we'll take a break. When we come back, chat more with Girish Pai, also bring on board Ashish Chaturmurtha. And when we come back, we'll tell you why liquor stocks are a buzz in trade. And of course, in particular, Radico Khaitan. What's the buzz here? What's the story? That coming up after this quick break.
Co-powered by National Stock Exchange.
Watch the global launch of OnePlus 5T on YouTube tonight at 9:30 p.m.
So tell me, how are your stock investments doing, huh? Great! Right now it's all up. Look there! Land! Let's swim there! No. We'll stick to our boat and row to the shore. Don't panic. Great goals are achieved with focus. That's why stay focused on your goals and stay invested. Soch kar, samajh kar, invest kar.
Soch kar, samajh kar, invest kar.
Issued in the public interest by NSE. Stock market investments are subject to market risks. Read all investment-related documents carefully.
The Bharat 22 ETF is a fairly unique instrument because it's diversified. The government has put together its holdings across 6 sectors, and if you look at it, it covers not just real sectors like utilities, basic materials, but also covers consumer sectors like FMCG, as well as financial. So it's a very diversified basket, and the government is offering a 3% discount on the same.
India's largest SME stage is here, with enthralling leadership advice from industry pioneers.
India's best minds are becoming entrepreneurs today. You have almost 10% of the graduating class of IITs becoming entrepreneurs, something which was unheard of 25, 30 years ago.
Meet the new age entrepreneurs who are set for the runway to success.
We came up with India's first female urination device called P-Buddy.
So we've got 600 campsites, more than 1,000 adventure activities across 70 plus cities in India.
We are trying to bring the agrarian fields to urban areas.
How do you build your brand?
Stop innovating for a bit, start shipping.
Catch Lufthansa Runway to Success Season 5 only on ET Now.
Invest in ICICI Prudential Mutual Funds Bharat 22 ETF. An opportunity to invest in jewels of corporate India from 6 core sectors at a discount of 3%. The scheme seeks to give you growth, stability and create long-term wealth. Make the most of this opportunity. Invest in Bharat 22 ETF. NFO closes 17th November 2017. To invest, visit ICICIPruMF.com. Tarakki kare. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Bharat 22 ETF comprises of stocks of public sector units, banks and other entities where the government has a minority stake. Bharat 22 ETF will be the second exchange traded fund after CPSE ETF, which primarily had government owned entities.
So Bharat 22 ETF shall invest in equity securities of constituent companies of S&P, BSE, Bharat 22 index, which is also the benchmark index for the ETF. This makes it as a very diversified investment, as the investment in this index comprises of 6 different sectors and 22 companies.
अब सेल्स टारगेट डबल हो गया है तो सेल्स फोर्स भी डबल ही लगेगा ना?
It's that easy to hire on Quicker Jobs. To hire now, call 1-800-3000-1000. Quicker.
Watch the global launch of OnePlus 5T on YouTube tonight at 9:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You're still watching Closing Trades right here on ET Now, and the stock story that we need to focus on at this juncture is Radico Khaitan, which will come up for you on your screens. There has been a lot of buzz around this name. 10% higher and the 16% higher in the session, 253. And if you could just flip that over with the kind of volume burst that we're seeing on the stock, it's a big move.
It's a big move, and it's coming on very strong volumes. I mean, Radico Khaitan is not supposed to be a liquid stock.
Yeah,
the volumes which Radico has clocked only in the cash market, they are like about 160, 170 crore. That's half that of Reliance Industries. Now, there are a variety of factors why liquor stocks are making a comeback. If you're buying liquor stocks, you pretty much are buying them at the peak of bad news. That's what the general sense is. But if you're a liquor, if you're a liquor stock investor, the heartening thing for you here is that the volume growth in liquor has not been bad. In fact, Radico has reported a 6.5% volume growth. Radico and that good old buzz that, okay, Bacardi is going to pick up some stake in it. Whether that buzz is right or not, I don't know. But if I independently look at Radico Khaitan valuations, they are trading at a discount to Diageo. They are trading at a discount to United Breweries. And in terms of the brands what they own right now, after Diageo and in the listed space, they are the second largest liquor company. The good thing for Radico here is that they've got some very decent brands. I mean, they've got 8 PM whiskey, 8 PM which is a whiskey brand. They've got Contessa rum. So the Delhi old timers would tell you that, okay, this is one of those, Thandi ki rum. So it's got decent brands.
Which factory when you go to Faridabad?
So it's got brands which for people who live in that part of the country, they would have some kind of a recall. What I like about Radico is the fact that the debt levels have come down. So they're growing, and they're growing by reducing the debt, which means capital efficiency is going higher, or they're doing a better management of capital allocation.
Yeah. In fact, talking about Radico, it's I think the entire liquor group today. So even if you look at USL, that's holding out quite smartly today. That's up a good 4% on the futures. 3110 is where that stock is, and of course Radico is the other buzzer, like Nikunj rightly highlighted. For now, it's pretty okay. We're holding on and lurking around the 10,200 mark. Let's also bring on board Ashish Chaturmutha then to track technicals. Ashish, hi, afternoon. We were just talking about some of these liquor names, Radico as well as USL. Any trading opportunity here?
Hi, afternoon. So yes, if you look at most of these names are showing amazing, volume build-up in last couple of trading sessions, and particularly Radico Khaitan, which has already done extremely well, has seen its very strong delivery volumes in last couple of trading sessions. If you look at, McDowell, we saw one day a sharp uptick from almost 2600 to 3100, and post then we have consolidated for last 1 to 2 weeks. I think clearly it has formed a pole and flag formation on the weekly charts, which is very positive. I think on upside 30 to 50, 3300 levels could be seen in McDowell in days to come, and I think on downside now 3050, 40 will become a very strong support. So I think McDowell looks good for another 150, 200 rupees upside from current levels.
Girish, I was looking at some of your ideas. You have an Inox Leisure as part of Nirmal Bang's top bets, JK Cement and then Muthoot Finance. So let's go one by one. Inox Leisure, and what's the target that you're putting out there? And is it really the theme where you're looking at this not just being a retail play but also consumption-oriented story?
So yeah, it's a consumption discretionary story. So compared to PVR on an EV/EBITDA basis, the stock is trading at something like 35% discount vis-a-vis FY19 EBITDA. And we think that that is not justified because we think that a lot of operating parameters that Inox Leisure has got vis-a-vis PVR will there's a very large differential right now, especially in advertisement revenue per screen, which is at almost like a 45% discount, and even F&B spend per head is about a 29% discount. We think that all these parameters will kind of compress or converge towards PVR's numbers as years pass by, and we think that the EBITDA CAGR of Inox will be double that of PVR over the next 3 years. We think it's going to be something like 40% CAGR. So we believe that the valuation differential will compress, and we think that Inox can deliver a fairly decent return from here. So 12-month target is something like 336. So I think that's about a 20-25% upside from where we are right now. So that's on the consumer discretionary side. JK Cement is a unique play in the cement space because it's probably the only two players in the white cement side, and white cement kind of predominates from an EBITDA standpoint. So it's got about 0.6 million tons of white cement and has got about 40-45% market share there. The only other player is Ultratech. So there we think that that is a business which needs to be given very high EBITDA multiple. We kind of giving it 14 times EBITDA multiple because the white cement business is actually not a volatile business, unlike the grey cement business, and it's got very high EBITDA per ton numbers. Some 3,400, 3,500 EBITDA per ton is what the white cement gets. And we think that there is on the grey cement side, they've got a fairly large operation going at about.
Fair point. So JK Cement, Inox, these are some of the ideas which we've got from Girish Pai. Hello, how can we ignore Infosys? Let's look at Infosys, a classic contra play in this market. Infosys is almost at 1,000 rupees. No one noticed it.
No, we were talking about it since yesterday that how IT...
No one noticed it, that 40 rupees up for Infosys suddenly. Why? It cannot be dollar, it cannot be business, it cannot be FI buying.
And I think it's more of asset allocation which is happening.
Yeah, it's peacemaking between the top guys.
You know, all this cozy talk between the two promoters will not get them good business. Markets want to see evidence of a turnaround. And you know, so let me just put some hard facts out here. Infosys in last 7 quarters has cut their guidance 3 times. After Nandan Nilekani took over, they were forced to come out and cut their guidance. When TCS did not give you a profit warning, Wipro did not cut out their guidance. Cognizant increased their guidance. So with all my due respect to Mr. Nandan Nilekani and what the erstwhile promoters are trying to achieve here, there is a challenge. The buyback is at play. The stock is looking attractive. The dividend yield is looking attractive. I buy all that, but when you can see better visibility in a lot of other businesses.
And rupee is also weakening. I mean, this could just be very well a near-term trade.
Also, rupee has not been on the side of IT companies.
There's not that much weakness. But yeah, I mean, it's on the weaker side.
No, as percentage of total sales, Infosys always has the highest amount of unhedged positions. So yeah, rupee will lead to margin expansion. The margins last quarter also expanded. But you don't buy companies because you have a rupee tailwind.
No,
you buy company because you need growth, and that's where I think.
And the other thing is only Infosys is rallying today. None of the other big IT players, so it's not like a TCS.
It's a happy smile.
Absolutely. I think
Nothing else. Okay, PSU banks as well are really abuzz today. Now, interesting comments coming in from the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on the sidelines of the Morgan Stanley Summit as well, the conference which kick-started, saying that recapitalization is going to be performance-linked. He's also said that the announcement will be made very soon. He's saying that 1 or 2 instances of consolidation in SOE banks over the next 12 months is also likely. And also that state-owned banks are going to be encouraged to use capital to lend to MSMEs. He's also saying that a concerted policy to direct loans to MSME is also in the pipeline, and that could be announced in the near future as well. This is the interesting one, that recapitalization will be performance linked, so it may not be that typical hierarchical order that you have SBI, PNB, BOB, and then so on and so forth.
Yeah, so I think the general view is that the large 3-4 banks will get the lion's share of PSU bank recap. But the idea of PSU bank recap was also to make sure that some of the banks which were desperate for capital, it was also to give them this extra capital so that they can survive. If you don't give capital to an IDBI bank or a UCO bank or Union UCO bank, they will not be able to really comply with the new Basel III norms. So is this an indication that government will capitalize large banks and then consolidation will also happen with the weaker banks? You can try and read between lines. But the real need for capital, I think, is much more desperate, much more acute, and much more alarming in the case of the tier 2 and T3 PSU banks, because the hole in their balance sheet cannot be filled with just economic recovery.
We chatted with the BOB management as well earlier today, and we're going to play that bite, but in just bits from now. It's 2:55, so let me quickly take it across to our chartists and get in some fresh trading ideas as we step into this last half an hour of today's trade. CK, what's on your 2:55 trading list?
Well, it would be one more, let's say, PSU bank idea. I think Union Bank is something that I like. 170 is the current price. I would be a buyer in Union Bank with a 3 rupee stop loss from the current prices, looking for a price target at about 175 to 176.
Ashish, what about your ideas at 2:55?
So my first buy idea would be on Jain Irrigation. If you look at today's data, 11% open interest addition. On the daily charts, it has formed an inverted head and shoulder, clearly indicating stock is poised for a move towards 115, 116 in a very short span of time. So as a BTST trade also, one can initiate a long, keep a stop around 102. Immediate targets could be around 112, but positionally I believe the stock has potential to cross 120 in next 2 to 3 weeks. My second buy idea would be on Bank of India, which has given a fresh breakout on daily charts. About 200 has seen a build-up of almost 8-9%, clearly indicating that a lot of long accumulation is happening here. So and overall PSU banking basket is showing a lot of buying interest during this fall. Also we have observed most of these names were holding on. So I think Bank of India has a potential to cross 214, 215 in a very short span of time. One can initiate a long, keeping a stop below 200 levels.
Okay, some flashes coming in on the Reserve Bank Employees Association, which we'll address in a bit. RBI surplus this year has gone down substantially on printing of new notes. So this is related to demonetization and the aftermath. Take a break, commercial compulsions, but when we come back, we'll address this story.
Watch the global launch of OnePlus 5T on YouTube tonight at 9:30 p.m.
So tell me, how are your stock investments doing, huh? Great! Right now it's all up. Look there! Land! Let's swim there! No. We'll stick to our boat and row to the shore. Don't panic. Great goals are achieved with focus. That's why stay focused on your goals and stay invested. सोच कर, समझ कर, invest कर.
सोच कर, समझ कर, invest कर.
Issued in the public interest by NSE. Stock market investments are subject to market risks. Read all investment-related documents carefully.
Either you invest through one of the distributors who is distributing the ETF, or you can, even if you want, you can come directly on iciciprudentialmf.com, download the form. There are two things one can do: either fill it online and submit it online, or one can do is to take a printout of that form if wants to do physically. Then take the printout of the form and deliver at any of our offices or CAMPS offices, and it will be processed. At the time of the NFO, you get a 3% discount. So after you get the units in the form of a demat, you need to have a demat account to buy this. So once you have a demat account and you get the units in your demat, it is like buying and selling any share. If you want to sell it, you go to the stock exchange and sell the ETF. If you buy, you can subsequently buy also on the markets, and you can sell also on the market.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
We make it look easy. We make it look good. When everybody's squeezing, they stop and take a look. So celebrate yourself. Celebrate. So celebrate yourself. Don't feel so great. We make it look good. We make it look good.
ETF is low cost product of mutual fund. Here cost is very less, and the government is offering 3% discount upfront, which is direct benefit to the investors in all categories. And the ETF is constituting the 22 stocks, which are 99% out of these stocks are listed in future and options. And if you compare the yield, dividend yield of these 22 stocks is much better than the Nifty and Sensex stocks. Therefore, to create long-term wealth, these are good investments.
Hi, I'm Rupa Kudwa. Empathy is the most disruptive quality in an entrepreneur. I'm looking forward to meeting disruptive young entrepreneurs who bring radically new solutions to customers on Lufthansa's runway to success, only on ET Now.
Watch the global launch of OnePlus 5T on YouTube tonight at 9:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You're still watching Closing Trades right here on ET Now. We'll address those flashes in just a bit, but before that, okay. In a few seconds from now, we will have Ravi Shankar Prasad address the media. Can we play out the Bank of Baroda reaction on what Mr. Jaikumar had to say earlier on? Okay, let's do that. Let's make our viewers hear that out, and then we'll go across to the press conference.
So I'm hoping we'll be able to kind of contain the slippages and keep on ticking off on, making more recoveries and thereby keep the upward momentum on place. But recovery is an area that we need to see a couple of quarters of good result, and it's a challenge in the sense there are a number of accounts which are larger in size. It's not exactly possible to time everything precisely in a quarter, but taking a 12 months view, I'm fairly optimistic of the outcome for Bank of Baroda. Net, I think our total number of additional provisions after adjusting for whatever we have provided till today is about 1,000 crores, assuming everything in the list 2 slips into NCLT. Don't need any government funding to secure and meet the regulatory capital in the context of the balance sheet remains intact. 2, we would definitely we are definitely going in for the further capital rise, both with respect to AT1 and QIP. We have to time it. And 3, we would certainly take the opportunity for further infusion of capital from the government. And the exact quantum of it, we're still in the process of working out. I think we have time till the end of December to submit our recommendations to the government after taking board approval. So the process is on. But the principal position that I have, that we don't need any bailout, still remains strongly there.
That's BOB chatting exclusively with us. Stock up 3.6%, getting a color on how their earnings panned out. And of course,